Good morning and welcome to Cheche, the show where opinion counts. We're live on Citizen TV and I'm your host, Udwaka Mimo. So what is the state of human rights in Kenya? The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights tells us that attitudes towards human rights are improving. But in a report reviewing progress since the Constitution came into force, KNHCR accuses the Kenya Police Service and other security agencies of extrajudicial killings, torture and disappearances. The police deny the allegations and argue that they're doing their best to secure the nation. So today's guests are George Moraro, he's the Vice Chair of the KNHRC, and Police Service Spokesman Charles Owino. We also have with us our regular panelists, Mutegi Njau and David Makali. Good morning. I'll start with you, Mr. Moraro. Give us an overview of how Kenya is doing in upholding human rights. How would you rank us? How would you rate us out of 10?
Thank you very much, Woodwork, for that question. I had David whisper to you, say it's Morara. Not Moraro.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's Morara. But you're right, we're releasing a report that is looking at the last 4 years since we got what we're calling the new constitution in August 27, 2010, up to 2014, so that 4-year period. And there are a few areas where we've made progress, but by and large, there are a few areas where we still have critical challenges. And as you rightly said in your introduction, one of those areas is our understanding about the place of security and human rights in that constitution, because we still have a big challenge there.
We'll come to that in a moment, but how would you rate us out of 10 then?
Out of 10, I would say we are somewhere about midway, maybe 50%.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So we come to the allegations then, the challenges of upholding human rights while maintaining law and order. What are you finding?
I think we find the attitudes whereby still there is a feeling that for this country to be safe and secure, we must suspend the constitutional provisions. We've had time and again, and I'm glad the police spokesperson is here, saying the police saying that we have a constitution that ties their hands when they want to go out there and keep us safe and secure. We've had time and again cases of extrajudicial executions as a way of responding to challenges of security. So I think the mindset is still out of sync with Article 238 of our Constitution that clearly spells out the principles under which national security should be upheld, and one of them is human rights. So as I always say, human rights and the promotion of security are not mutually exclusive concepts. Okay,
I'll come to you in a minute. Where are we doing well if security is something that we're still grappling with?
In terms, let me go specifically to security and highlight the areas where we are doing well. One, I think there is this notion in this country that the number of the police officers to the civilian population, the ratio, for a long time, the figures that were bandied out there, people saying it's one police officer for 1,200 citizens, but that is not actually the case. We're doing well in terms of numbers because we have over 80,000 police officers, so it's 1 to about 450, which is very close to the international ratio of 1 to 400. We're also doing very well in terms of the provision of the equipment, the vehicles to the police, and that is actually going on well. Where there is a problem are the other logistical issues, because you give the police the vehicles, you allocate them fuel of 300 liters per month, and you demand that they only charge fuel at Total, which creates a logistical nightmare for most of the police officers.
Okay, so to come back to the challenge, you talk about extrajudicial killings, torture, disappearances, and I believe your report breaks it down.
Yes,
you talk about the operations against in northern Kenya because of Al-Shabaab, and so there's a religious element to it, you know, as the police try to root out extremist elements, but there's also an element of thuggery. Right, you know, people minding their own business in town, and they end up dead.
Absolutely. With
evidence and planted on that. Tell us a bit, take us through that.
I think let's acknowledge that we have a problem, Woodwork, in terms of the requirements of Article 26 of the Constitution, which is the sanctity of life, and how we are protecting that. Because in peacetime, just looking at statistics that we have, we've lost over 3,300 Kenyans, and this was deaths that are, some of the deaths, like you rightly say, have been terror-related. Some of them are actually people who have died from gunshot wounds, and there are quite a number of those, over 1,800. We have people who have died from robberies and armed robberies. And not to forget something that the police have always accused the Commission of not doing, we've also documented about 91 police officers who have actually been killed in the line of duty. So just as a way of beginning, we have a problem, because in peacetime, we've lost more people than when we had that tumultuous moment of 2007, 2008, where we lost 1,133, but now we've lost over 3,300 Kenyans in what would be considered a good constitution and what is peacetime. So there is a problem, and as a country, we must come to terms with that problem and how to resolve it.
Okay. Sir, that's a huge indictment against the police service, that in peacetime we've lost 3,000 lives.
No, 3,300.
3,000, well, over 3,000.
Yeah.
Killed by police?
Well, that just speaks to the overall state of insecurity, because the police have a duty and responsibility to protect Kenyans.
I would want to say this. I'm an officer of the law, and I have a bound duty to enforce laws and regulations of this land. All those nice things that your parliament do and make laws and so on, and the constitution that Mr. Morara has.
It's not mine.
Yeah.
It is
our constitution.
Yes, thank you.
And the person who is mandated to enforce those regulations all round, not just in terms of crime, even in some items of social nature, is the police. Number one, I'm quite proud that I have Mr. Morara here from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. This is a government institution created by the Constitution. And they have a role. We respect their role to observe, to investigate on matters of human rights. And it is not exclusive. All Kenyans have equal rights when it comes to human rights. And that is why, whether I'm in uniform, because I'll not be a policeman forever, God forbid, and also my children, my relatives are not policemen. So all of us require, I'm human enough, even all police officers are human enough. But we are saying, two mistakes don't make a right where there is a mistake. We have a great problem with their latest report. It is saying they are going to release a report. They have already released a preliminary report for the consumption of the public, contrary to regulations in human rights, where they are supposed to involve stakeholders in discussing some of these reports that they have made. Remember that it is the police that has the responsibility to protect lives, the human lives that we have across board this country. And because we have that responsibility, it is not good to incite the public against their own police
Why do you
officers.
think the KNHRC is inciting the public?
Just on the number of reports they are giving. For example, when you say police has extrajudicially killed 25. One, I'm lucky that everyone I have here is well schooled. The term extrajudicial in the first place means that this is a government policy to kill specific persons, which is wrong. What we are saying, if a police officer in the course of his duty causes someone to lose life, there's a procedure of dealing with these particular cases. And we are lucky in this constitution. We managed to get the Independent Police Oversight Authority. None of them is a police officer. And that is where we involve them in a number of cases. We are not saying when you are dealing with firearm, there's also cases where panic occurs. It's not just here, even in highly developed countries. Panic occurs and somebody may misuse his firearm. But we want specific cases, Woodwork, where you tell us this particular case and this case and this case, this is what has happened. I hope we will have time to analyze their report. It's called what? Doing what? Terror with what? Fighting terror with terror. Yeah. And if we look at it, I'll be able to. We have looked at the report, and for the benefit of our viewers who don't have access to the report, the overarching charge against the police and other security agencies is that you have caused extrajudicial killings. Whether or not, you know, there's some sort of process that addresses that, it's happened, that you have caused people to disappear, that
regarding certain communities within this country, you use unwarranted, disproportionate force.
Very good explanations for that, Udwa. Number one, when you say we have caused people to die or caused people to disappear, let us look at these statistics in this manner. How many police officers have we lost? Let's say in the last 2, 3, or 4 years.
Okay, let's not compare apples with oranges. We'll come to that. And the report acknowledges that. But let's talk about the disappearances. Let's talk about the killings. Yes. Are you denying that the police have caused extrajudicial killings?
No, we cannot say that we have caused extrajudicial killings because it is not a government policy.
Things are not done because of policy.
Yes.
Things occur. Things happen. Is that a denial?
Excuse me.
No people have died from police bullets.
Excuse me. Would you deny that? Would any country deny that where we have criminals, we have terrorists, we have people killing policemen, we have people killing Kenyans, you would deny that there is no police bullet that has killed? So I admit.
There is an admission.
Excuse me.
Let's talk about that admission.
What I don't
Let's talk about that admission.
Excuse me. And it is in that analogy that you don't want me to give.
No.
Be fair.
Give us the context of that admission.
Be fair.
When it has happened.
Just be fair and relax.
Or not.
We are on a debate.
Yes.
Relax.
Yes.
It's a very competent game. Just relax. I want to give you an analogy. Number one, you must agree that we have a constitutional mandate and there are circumstances when we can justifiably use our firearms.
Yes. There is. That's true.
And there are cases where we have justifiably used firearms to protect lives. And that is why Woodwork was trying to stop me when I was saying, she said I'm comparing oranges with mangoes, I don't know. What I'm saying is, look at the moral standards. How many police officers have we lost that criminals have shot and killed? How many civilians have we lost in this country that have been killed by criminals? Now, if you look at the number, you'll find it is over 400 in just maybe a year and a half. Now, this gives you an image that there's something wrong somewhere. People don't fear, people don't respect even the security agencies. So if we've lost 400 Kenyans, 500 Kenyans, vis-a-vis the 25 you say police have killed, we are not saying that all that have died maybe have been killed justifiably, because I have cases where in our own system as police officers, we have arrested our colleagues and taken to court for unlawful killings. And that would have to happen. But that does not mean you give a blanket condemnation to the service that we have extrajudicially killed. And I'm against the word extrajudicial.
Why are you against it? It just means it's not following due process to end somebody's life. Is there any other reason?
Muslim leaders had a big press conference where they said, you are killing our people.
Yes.
I haven't seen any response from him.
They are buying propaganda of Al-Shabaab. Why do I say so? I want to be very specific, and I want to apologize. No, I want first of all to apologize to the nation that I'm not supposed to go so much into faith. But Mutegi, let us be honest. If you look at the people that we have killing people, whether it is that boy who led the killing in Garissa, the advocate, whether it is the ones who kill people here in Westgate, whether it is Omondi Budalangi who has been converted, the Muslim leaders should be in the forefront of fighting radicalization and terror.
But how can they do that? They would argue that they can't do that because you are so violent in your handling of their community that you are sending their young people into the hands of the radicalizers.
Woodwork, I want to tell you a very interesting thing. You are aware that the Minister for Interior gave some kind of amnesty, and I can tell you for sure that we have over 200 that have come back on the basis of that amnesty. It's only unfortunate that at this stage we cannot give their names and their particulars because of the risks involved. We have parents who are coming to us telling us, like this 8 boy that was radicalized just the other day, and the mother managed to nip it at the bud just before something bad happened. We have a number of lists of boys and girls who have come back. We had the case of those boys from Isiolo Boys and Isiolo boys and Marsabit mixed and Marsabit girls who crossed over in April last year. Some have already come back. And no one can say that we are not receiving them or mishandling these people. What I'm requesting for is, let us not be an activist-oriented or a panic mode and just have a blanket condemnation on the police. We are willing to talk to the leaders. We have talked to the leaders. It is not to our interest to have any Kenyan die. It is our mandate to ensure that Kenyans are safe. But these are extraordinary times. You know of the Al-Shabaab threat and the effort that we have made. We had so many issues of hand grenades here and there. So what we are calling for is, we are calling for unity to all Kenyans, and we are calling for leaders, especially leaders from the Muslim faith. They are aware that the persons that we have arrested or the persons involved come from a particular faith. So they should be on the forefront to look at ways and means in which we can resolve these problems. The only time I saw them positive is when Garissa was hit. All of them, including senior lawyers, if you go through their tweets, you can see them giving very positive arguments and requesting the leaders to come together and work as a team. But then later, you don't see that.
Sir, I'm not sure how helpful this is, because you say that the Muslim leaders should be at the forefront.
Yes.
But in all this time, have you not attempted to find some sort of way of collaborating to ensure that in terms of preventing, stopping, arresting radicalization, that you're on the same page? Because there's no point coming and pointing fingers here at Muslim leaders when elements within the police service don't necessarily share your judicious use of force.
Can you give us an example? You know, I just don't want people to talk.
Let's make this a debate, like you said, turning into a lecture. Because you're taking all the time and telling us.
No problem. No, you had a chance to speak.
I did. But let's make it a debate.
Let's be very clear.
Let's make it a debate. And I'm saying, I want to agree with the police spokesperson that we are living in extraordinary times. There is no doubt about that. Maybe it's the interpretation of what that extraordinary time means and how to respond to it. I say we are living in extraordinary times because there's no denying. We've seen this in newspaper reports, in what the media houses have covered, that there is ongoing recruitment and radicalization, even at high school level. And that is worrying. Some reports are saying, over the last few months, about 40 students or so have disappeared from some schools in northern Kenya and some parts of western Kenya. So there is a problem. Number two, we are saying we are living in extraordinary times because, again, if you look at the time that our report is giving, the time period, as a country, we've suffered over 340 terror-related attacks. And we've actually about 1,500 Kenyans who have been injured through terror-related attacks. We also have over 900 people who have died. So I want to start by saying I concur with you that those are extraordinary times. What I find a problem with is how we are responding to that. And for me, you're saying that the 25 who were killed maybe should be understood within that context, and you're doubting the methodology or how we got to those numbers. These are not faceless people. These are victims with families. They have stories to tell. We went out there and spoke with them, and they narrated to us cases that clearly point to a pattern where security agencies of all formations, the Kenya Army, Rapid Deployment Unit, even the KWS and all these are involved in that crackdown. So I find the method, because let's not forget, Al-Shabaab is actually coming up with a religious ideology. That is what they're using to recruit, telling people, well, if you die in the line of fighting with for Allah and all this, you're going to heaven. So they have a very nihilistic approach to life. If our approach to actually putting that ideology down is the bullet and the gun, we will not succeed. We will not succeed. We need to actually use a raft of measures that goes beyond the bullet and the gun. And let me let the police spokesperson know that we have an office in Mombasa, that is, and even in Wajir. And we've been engaging with these young people, again, within that amnesty conversation. I think the last meeting we had was sometimes in July. And they're telling us part of the reason why they can't come out and collaborate with the police is the overkill, whereby they feel they're being victimized as members of either the Muslim community or the Somali community. We've said in this show before, Mutegi was here with my colleague Commander, and we said communities do not commit terror. religions do not commit terror. It's individuals who do that.
Yes, but we don't hide. We don't need to hide behind our ethnic, our religious beliefs to commit terror and kill Kenyans or kill
That is not
people.
Islam. That's a perversion of Islam.
Yes, I know that.
But we're also talking about the perversion.
Yes, I mean that. But what we want, Mr. Morara has a very good opportunity to engage with the police service. In fact, we have just talked about children who are getting radicalized. And you know their rights are actually being seriously violated, which is within your mandate. They are not growing up as children. They are not going to get their education. And if they get in contact with security agencies and they are armed, they may lose their lives. You are getting that? You know, just tell somebody this is fire. Don't lie. As much as we get indicted on particular cases that maybe we have committed, which we take responsibility where a police officer has used his firearm unlawfully, but it's also important not to lie to Kenyans that we are just going to sit, you will come with your gun, and then we greet you and you point the gun and kill us the way you did. That cannot happen. Tell them the truth and let us be honest.
Yes. You're talking about an incident in which you have to protect and preserve life.
Yes.
I think the point that Mr. Morara and other human rights defenders would make is that there has been disproportionate use of force. And so if we go back to the case of the 25 killings they said occurred extrajudicially, what do you know about them? What recourse are you going to offer as a result of the information that has been presented to you?
We have written to the Commission,
and we had a meeting with the National Police Service.
And we have invited them for a discussion to analyze each and every issue that they have brought up, because we realize that there's a disconnect between us and them, and maybe that is why they are hurriedly coming up with these reports in this manner. So we have called them.
Hurriedly? Because you're taking issue now with the methodology. Hurriedly?
Yes. Yes, because you need to confirm. When you say a particular person has been killed by the police, we need to look at the circumstances.
There is evidence,
and Morara, you are also aware, just a minute, just a minute. You are aware, just a minute. We are not denying that people have been killed.
Absolutely.
We have been killed over 200. Kenyans have been killed over 400. We are not denying. But what we are saying, we have a responsibility to protect Kenyans, and we'll continue doing that. But what we are saying is, you know, in law, you know very well that when a person dies in a circumstance that is thought that somebody has killed him, whether it is a policeman or a civilian, then we always open inquiries into the cause of death. These inquiries, these inquests go before a magistrate having jurisdiction. This is what we ought to do, Bwana Morara. We don't need to push to be activists in this manner.
Unfortunately, you and I know deep down your heart that those inquests don't go far.
Whom do you blame?
Participated in inquests.
Let me cut you short.
Let me explain. Maybe Kenyans ought to know the process of an inquest. Because it's not like it's a process that is out there and is clean of normal police interventions, manipulation. I mean, somebody gets killed by a policeman. The investigation is carried out by the same police officers. You go to court, and I have been shocked. Let me say this. I witnessed the shooting to death of a person. I was called to go to court to testify in an inquest. I was shocked at the testimonies that had been put in that file by police officers.
Excuse me.
Totally erroneous.
I want to correct.
So how do you want to tell us that those inquests are actually a solution?
I want to correctly.
Yes.
The current constitution and the position is such that we have an independent police oversight authority.
Very well.
With very experienced lawyers, including the chairman.
Yes.
They are carrying out investigations into any causes of death. Morara is also carrying out investigations. They team together. And for your information, the Independent Police Oversight Authority has authority to forward a file to DPP and to court without our input. And therefore you are lying.
The current position... You know, I can tell you, let me finish. Let me finish the circumstances where this becomes...
The current position, excuse me, the current position is such that you don't need to carry out an inquest investigation through the police. Morara can do it, IPOA can do it, and they are not part of us.
But you're accusing David of lying about his experience.
I'm giving a fact. I mean, in fact, you know, this thing happened before me. I witnessed it. There were police officers who did it. And I was shocked when I read the file that this person had been shot elsewhere and brought here.
You gave evidence.
I did.
Yes, and you gave the correct evidence.
I gave the correct evidence. One against 8 police officers who had given different testimonies.
Yes.
Where do you think that is going to end?
Absolutely.
Absolutely nowhere. Because the police are going to protect their own. So that's why we're saying we need to prevent the occurrence of police killings up front. But because once they happen, the ends of justice may never be met.
It's okay. But are you trying to wash down what I've just told you? That currently we have independent units that can investigate.
Those units are there.
No.
I'm not washing them down.
Okay, we have to take a break.
No, Makali, let us be honest.
Let me agree with you.
You are dealing with a very experienced policeman. Let us be honest.
And you're also dealing with a very experienced public service.
Let's be honest.
Let me say this.
Just a minute. David, finish your point. We have to take a break.
The point is, the creation of these institutions in our constitution and their existence is not guarantee that the right thing will be done. And we have many institutions in this country which have been set up to address some of those things.
Actually,
but of course
when they're doing their work well, like IPOA now, they're threatened with watering down of their mandate and all this.
Yeah. Is it police threatening them?
No. We're just talking about the system under which we operate.
So I think that we want to agree with you. I mean, and there is no downplaying the fact that the police do hard work and it's dangerous. They face criminals and they're killed in the line of duty.
Yes.
But those are the hazards of the job, right? The police cannot hold it against themselves and say, look, now we're also going to shoot anybody who appears before us.
We have not said that.
That is abdication of responsibility. I mean, that we must agree. Then we must move to the next level and say, how can we better execute our mandate as police officers and reduce the number of casualties?
And we will come to that.
Innocent people.
Just once we get Mr. Owino here to accept that there might be some commissions and omissions on the police's part in the line of duty. We have to take a break.
Number one,
save your thoughts.
It's okay.
Hold your thoughts. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV. Today's guests are George Morara, the Vice Chair of the KNHRC, and Police Service Spokesman Charles Owino. SMS us on 22422 or tweet us on hashtag Cheche. We're talking about security versus human rights. Is there a dichotomy between the two?